So during all the acquisitions that Xbox and PlayStation have been doing, people have thrown around the idea that Square Enix would be in the possibilities. But Square just made a deal that probably says no to that. And the publisher they did it with is going to own far more studios. In fact, they already do own more studios than Xbox does. So how's this going to affect things for you and other gamers? Let's talk about it. And my voice is gone for some reason. And I'm going to assume you already know what's going on, but just to immensely sum it up, Square made a deal with Embracer, that's right. They were formerly known as THQ Nordic. And Square basically sold off a good chunk of their Western-based IPs, studios, European stuff. That includes things like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and 50 other games that are in their back catalog that came with Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, who's definitely going to have a name change. And Square made this deal to sell them for $300 million. No, not billion. And this makes Embracer own a lot of publishers, actually. They own Gearbox Software, who they bought for like 3 times as much, Saber Interactive, Decca Games, and it's quite a staggering list when you actually look at it. But what does this do in terms of Square's Western market? Because that's really what it affects. The people that are really into stuff like Final Fantasy and that's like the only other JRPG I can think of. Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest, yeah. And another one I'll mention towards the end of this video. It doesn't really affect that. My damn voice. It doesn't really affect that side of things. In fact, when you look into the reasons why Square did this, they are really offloading a lot of their well-funded studios and IPs that were, going to that Western market. And they can use a lot of these funds, as well as the, funds they're allocating, or whatever that word is, to focus a lot more on the IPs and business and studios and stuff that they have. Because Square it's a lot more than just gaming. Like, they acknowledge that's the market that they're going to be focusing on. But they're also using these funds to invest in things like blockchain, AI, and cloud. And it's kind of crazy to think that they sold Tomb Raider to focus on blockchain stuff, aka like crypto funds. So that's a little weird when you put it on paper. But Square is still going to be working on Western IPs and stuff. They're still going to be posting like Just Cause, Outriders, Life is Strange. They still have a good deal of properties that they're going to be working with that is kind of, that Western style game. And Luminous is their own parent studio, something like that focuses on using Square's engine, the Luminous engine, and they're developing Forspoken. And that's a game that's coming pretty soon. So in terms of Western stuff, they're going to still have some things, and they still have some European studios, but they've definitely offloaded a good deal of this to Embracer, who, if you care about Tomb Raider and all that jazz, what does this mean for you? Well, they're still working on the new Tomb Raider game, to which that is a thing. If you haven't heard, there is yet another Tomb Raider game being developed by Crystal Dynamics with the Unreal Engine 5, which will be sick. But through an earnings call, Eidos Montreal actually confirmed that their next game is going to be set in the Deus Ex world, to which it's been a hot minute since we've gotten a game in that franchise. And probably the coolest part about this, it's not Xbox or PlayStation acquiring, a whole publisher. The reason that's great is because you could play these games on both those consoles. You could play these games on both systems from Square and Embracer, and their franchises that are traded basically because of this deal. And I think that's a good thing. Like, I don't think all these publishers should be going to just first-party stuff. Yes, every now and then maybe, or trade them out, but just don't have all of them going there. And this is a third-party studio, so there's a lot more flexibility. Plus, Square is most likely saying that they don't intend to sell after this because they are offloading stuff like Crystal Dynamics, their work on the Marvel game. It didn't perform as well as they wanted. And so maybe they're just kind of offloading a bit and they want to focus on the stuff that they thrive in. Because of that, they don't really intend to sell soon because they just lowered their price by doing this. And this personally doesn't affect me like on a personal level too much because Admittedly, there's not too many of these games that I play. And even if I did, as long as I can, have the choice as to where to play them, even though I have all 3 systems, that's nice. That's just nice. As long as they don't go to PC. I'm not a PC person, so as long as I can play them on my consoles, thank you. Studio and IP tradeouts are a lot more flexible of a situation than full-blown publisher buyouts. It allows for partnerships to be made like how Square did with Disney to make one of my favorite series, Kingdom Hearts. But which of Square's Western-based IPs do you care about most and are wondering what will happen after this acquisition? Chat with me in the community in the comments about it. And if you want more topics in gaming, don't forget to subscribe to Be Geek, Be Proud, and Be Awesome.